Everybody's on mute.
No, we're not.
Now we're okay.
Can you hear us, Emily?
Yes, I can.
I like your background.
Thank you. That's my grandma. Just kidding, not really. It's in the archives.
Hmm. What is that beeping noise? What is that?
Heard a bird.
I did too. I heard a bird.
Ready to roll?
Call the meeting to order at 5:30. Let's stand for the pledge tonight. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for the world.
Good evening, everyone. Roll call.
Dr. Shambo,
Here.
Emily Hunt Bailey,
Here,
Richard Jones,
I'm here.
Jeff Sandoval,
Present.
Here. Okay, thank you, everyone. Adoption of the agenda tonight, Superintendent Perez. Any changes in your recommendation?
Yes, sir, Mr. President, Board, good evening, everyone. I do recommend that we approve the agenda as presented.
I need a motion tonight.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Sandoval. Need a second.
second,
Okay, roll call.
Dr. Shambo, Dr. Guy,
Yes.
Emily Hunt Bailey,
yes,
Richard Jones,
Yes.
Jeff Sandoval,
Yes.
John Ortiz.
Yes. Adoption of the minutes tonight, Superintendent Perez, your recommendation, or if there's any changes for other.
Yeah. Mr. President, Board, this evening, I recommend that we approve the minutes as presented.
Okay, need a motion?
So move.
Need a second?
Second.
second,
Okay, roll call.
Dr. Shambo,
Yes.
Emily Hunt Bailey,
yes,
Richard Jones,
Yes.
Jeff Sandoval,
Yes.
John Ortiz.
Yes. Recognitions tonight, Superintendent Perez.
So, Mr. President, Board, and everyone on with us this evening. It's my honor always to recognize staff, and this evening, I'd like to recognize the technology department. The technology team, I think, if you ask just about anyone in the entire district about their customer service, I think you'll get a thumbs up with them. So it's a hardworking team, good team. They work well together, and they're doing a lot of good work. Their department has been impacted pretty seriously through COVID. As you know, the technology part of the 3-year strategic plan got accelerated from 3 years into just a few months, as far as like bringing the Chromebooks to the students and building our infrastructure properly so we can get more students connected. So they've done a lot of good hard work this last year. Needs to be noted. I think it also needs to be noted that a lot of districts our size, they are usually staffed with an outside external systems operator, an outside person to help run some of the pieces that some of the complicated pieces of the technology. That's not true in grants. In grants, the team that we have manages to do all of those tasks that are usually outsourced. We do that internally. So we have a good team that I'd like to recognize this evening. And I'd also like to, behind every good team, or in front of around every good team, is a great leader. And Miss Raquel Whitebird has shown through this last year. This is another group that hasn't skipped a beat through our ins and out and turns around, where we were off again one day and on again the other. That does have some impact on technology. But I'm proud to say that we have a good team that has backed us up for the better of our students and our teachers and all of the staff. So this evening, it's a great honor to recognize the technology team. We have a plaque on behalf of the school board and the GCCS administration. We will be presenting you all with a plaque, and then we have some individual certificates for the entire team. So anyway, congratulations to you all. Thank you for all your work.
Thank you, Superintendent Perez. Citizens to address the board tonight. There's no one to address the board tonight, but we do have a little change. The deadline to submit your requests will be at 10 a.m. on the day of the board meeting. So take note of that, okay? Presentations tonight, Superintendent Perez.
Okay. So the first presentation tonight, I'd like to keep a good cycle of just keeping the board and the public updated on some academic data. This is not intended to be a comprehensive report, but rather a check-in with you all to give you a sense of what's going on the academic side of the district. So Ms. Reina Sanchez has a short presentation for you all.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Pettis. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to update you all. This is a brief overview, as Mr. Pettis said, and I'm happy to provide more information at a later time. I have some current attendance data for you, some Q3 Illuminate data, and some student work to share. Ms. McDonald, the Grants High School art teacher, and Mr. Morayo, a welding teacher at Grants High School, recently shared some student work pictures with me, so I thought that I would share them with all of you. I'm going to start with some attendance data that I have. This is from last week, the 12th to the 16th. Our attendance has stayed within 1 or 2 points for our elementary schools. And as you can see, the fall semester, we were right around the 80% mark for most of our classes or our schools. And we're gaining right up to the 90s right now. From the February 9th board meeting until now, all of the elementaries have stayed within a couple of points. The secondary has changed quite a bit. Grants High School notably changed from 69% to 84% from that February 9th board meeting. We have a couple of schools that have gone down a little bit, and Early College High School has stayed right about the same as well. Our in-person counts have reached 1,555 students for the whole district. So 47% of our students are now in person. And there's just a brief little count of how many students are in person at each campus.
Just a minute, Raina, that LACH, I'm assuming that's LAHS.
The way that it's
I don't know
coded
what
in
the
the system is actually LACH and LACMS. So that's why it's that way. You are correct.
What's
It
the
is
C for?
Laguna Acoma. It's just the way that it's coded in the system.
Oh my God. Okay, thank you.
I'll move on to Q3 Illuminate data for the elementary. There's the bars that are orange, which are the number of students that are assessed. The darker green is the number of proficient or advanced, and the gray is those that are nearing proficient or advanced. The lines at the top, the thin orange line is at the percentage assessed of students, and the green is the proficient or advanced percentages. So students throughout the district took this Q3 Illuminate test March 8th to 15th. Each campus is reviewing the assessment data with their administrators and their instructional coaches regularly. They create interventions constantly. They're reteaching when they need to, and they're moving forward with current curriculum as well. The assessments are vetted by the instructional coaches and a team of grade level teachers before they are given, and then we go over them after they are given in order to make sure that the questions that we're asking are the most appropriate to show student proficiency with each of those standards. We did have a good discussion about the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade assessments in English language arts, and the difficulty teachers are having keeping students on track, taking their time on those assessments, reading through the passages, and taking their time to answer the questions as well. The Q3 math data is presented in the same way, with blue instead of, or blue and orange instead of the green. You will notice that there's a dip in the 6th grade and the 4th grade math. As the coaches and I looked at these assessments, we noticed similarity in the questions and the way that the questions are asked, the way that they're scored by the answers. And so all of us are going over all of that information so that moving forward, we choose questions that assess students in a better way and are scored in a better way as well. The middle and high school levels are continuing to see that it's harder to get students to be assessed. And so you'll notice that the number of students that are assessed in 7th through 12th or 7th through 11th grade did go down. So the percentages are a lot lower here.
Excuse me, just a second.
Go ahead.
I believe Miss Daly Hunt had she's having trouble getting unmuted. I don't know if she has a question or comment. Dr. Martin?
No, I
Okay.
unmuted myself.
Okay.
I muted myself. No.
You're good?
Can you slow down a little bit?
Mhm.
You're going over it really fast. It doesn't give us time to really critique the chart. So thank you.
So this is middle and high school for ELA. Middle and high school courses in English language arts, math, and all the other content areas are continuing to align the standards to make sure that the content that's being taught matches the alignment to the test that's being taken. So we're assessing the standards within that quarter. Our goal is to have all of the students assessed and have a system to vet those assessments for secondary as we do with the elementary. Secondary levels are also finding it harder to get students to take these assessments in the virtual setting. And so we're strategizing ways to increase the number of assessments that students are taking, as well as increasing their proficiency levels.
Okay, Raina, I'm assuming that this is a combination of all 7th graders, 8th graders, 9th graders, 10th graders across the district?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And then this last one is the Q3 math for 7th and 8th grade math, Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. And once again, you'll see that the percentage assessed is right above 50%, close to 60% in some of them. We are working to get those percentages up. We've discussed all of this with the administrators, the instructional coaches, and teachers. And I think that as we are more aligned at the high school level with all of our standards and our assessments, I think we're going to start seeing an increase in those tests that are being taken and an increase in the proficiency levels. The high school coaches and staff are working on this diligently.
I noticed the discrepancy with Algebra 1 and Geometry, which are at 9 and 30%, but the Algebra 2 is at 35%. Is there a reason behind that?
The number of students that are assessed at each one is right at the same. We're looking at teaching and how the standards were taught, looking at student work and sharing those ideas. And so as the coaches come out with some of those, the middle and high schools took a couple of weeks extra to try to get some more students assessed. And so they're still working on vetting those with their grade level teams and their PLCs. And so as those answers come out, I'm happy to share them with you.
Okay, because I know in math, algebra is a stepping stone more for Algebra 2, and geometry is kind of in the middle of there. So I'm trying to understand why they're performing at 9%, but when they get to Algebra 2, they're at 35%.
And some of it has to do with test and standard alignment that we're working on also.
Are these beginning of year? No, this is in the middle, right?
This is the third quarter, yes.
Third quarter. Okay. All right. Thank you.
These are some of the art pieces shared by Ms. McDonald. Ms. McDonald teaches art. She teaches photography. She teaches AP photography. She has a lot of different courses that she teaches, and her students are very successful, as you can see. Some of this artwork was done at home, and some of this artwork was done as the students returned to school. And this was shared by Mr. Morayo, our welding teacher, and he says that welding 1 students are learning to weld by producing beads on a plate. And he said that his welding 3 and 4 classes are welding banner posts for the schools to allow them to attach banners to the fences. And so these were being produced with a jig that they made in class. These 2 teachers shared this information with me, and as other teachers share, I'll share that with you all as well. Mr. Sanchez, would you like to go over your graduation information?
Sure. So President, board members, Mr. Pettis, thank you for the opportunity to present to you guys. It's always nice to share information and what's coming out of Laguna Acoma, and to be part of your keep you up to date on the knowledge and the things that are going on at Laguna Acoma. As you know, we're still virtual. We're teachers working very hard. So right now we currently have 54 seniors. Of those, 44 is what we anticipate to graduate. Of the 44, 11 of these are on our watch. So last week, me, Miss Daya, and Mr. Jello, the counselor, went and did some home visits on some of these students that we noticed. Every day we look at grades. I met with my staff again yesterday. I've asked them to do keep grades up to date as much as possible and try and update them daily because we're watching them daily. And so as we look at that, we have 11 that were on our watch that we went to go do home visits of them. And we were able to see 6 of the Laguna students that are on that list of 11 students. It was nice for me because I've never been out to all the homes. I've never been in some of the areas. I have very limited exposure to the community and the students, especially with COVID. That it was nice to me to go to see some of these homes, get to know the parents, and they were very appreciative to have the principal, the counselor, and the senior class sponsor in their homes. So in that chart you see there are 6 on monitor. Those are students that are require quite a bit of classes. There is a possibility that they can graduate. They're working very hard. One of the obstacles that we're having now is the dual credit courses. It's hard for the students that do not have connectivity to get those dual credit courses done. And of those 6, that's 2 students. But we're working with them. We're trying to make it happen. If not, then those students will be able to, we anticipate they will be able to graduate during that 10+ days that we're going to be doing. So that's where we're at with those students. If you look, we have 14 Laguna students.
Mr. Sanchez?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the 4 that you're saying will not make it, that means they will not graduate.
No, they don't have credits. Their credits are too far gone for them to try and make them up within 1 quarter. And even with the extended days, it's more likely they won't. They've been notified. We've talked to the parents and they know that they're not going to be making it. We're still working with them. We haven't given up on them. We're still trying to set them a goal. Summer school might help. Maybe 1 or 2 of those graduate with summer school, but a few of them, we just no contact. We have very little engagement with those students. We work very hard. We work with several different entities to try and get to the homes, delivering packets, all those other things. But unfortunately, we anticipate those 4 will not make it. Okay. Like I said, we have 14 Laguna, 27 Acoma, 2 Hispanics, and 1 Caucasian that will be graduating. And those are the 44 that we anticipate will make it. Again, that 6 that are on monitor are the ones that we're really monitoring closely. It's surprising because now at the 4th quarter, we know senioritis happens. And some of those students that we did go visit were some high performing. One of them was even in the top 10 and just got a little senioritis, and it woke the parents up, and the parents got a little more involved. And by today, we saw that student go from an F back up to a B, already working on that A. So it was a good opportunity for us to meet them. Our commencement will take place on the 22nd. It'll be at 6 p.m. It'll be in the front of the school. On the lower right-hand corner, you can see the diagram of the school. So as you see the front of the school, you can see we're going to have every student have a DeLorean. We're hoping they all get a DeLorean for graduation, and they'll get dropped off at that first area. They'll walk along the sidewalk, come up the stage. The parent will be able to drive up to that middle spot. We'll be able to take pictures from there as they're on the stage receiving their diploma. Then the parents will pull forward. The students will exit through the big blow up hawk and then be picked up on the other side, and they'll just drive around and be able to watch the rest of their class graduate. It'll be televised on YouTube. We got a YouTube page now, and we're trying to expand that so we have it available to everybody. We'll be working with technology and maintenance to make sure that we have everything in place for the parents and for the students. I did get permission from both governors to have this type of graduation. So we're very excited to give our students a graduation that they didn't get last year. And so I think that's all I have right now. If you have any questions.
Did you say the students are going to be picked up at the gate?
No, ma'am. So if you look at the diagram on the right-hand side where that car's at,
that's what I'm looking at.
They'll get dropped off. They'll pull up to that middle spot where those lines are at. That's where the parent can park right in front of the stage to take pictures or whatever they want to do. Then they'll pull forward. If you'll notice, there's another sidewalk there. They'll pull forward that second sidewalk, and they'll get picked up right there. And if you notice, there's a little spot there in the corner that shows the blow up of the hawk.
Maybe I'm blind, but I can't see the blow up of the hawk.
It's in a box. It says hawk.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Now I just was wondering. That's I thought that was a long ways for girls to walk, especially if they're wearing heels.
It looks like that in the picture, but it's not too bad.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now we'll have Mr. Weidner with Grants High School.
Thank you, Ms. Sanchez. Mr. President, board members, Mr. Pettis, it's my pleasure tonight to talk to you guys about commencement 2021. We talked a few months ago about GHS senior class. At the time, there were about 48 seniors that we were worried about, that we were watching closely. That number has drastically decreased. Currently in our senior class, there are 173 seniors at GHS. Out of those 173, there will be 153 that will participate in commencement. So there are 20 students that are on the watch list still. They aren't quite there. They haven't met the requirements of completing all their coursework. And a big part of that is dual credit. And so these 20 students need a course at NMSU. They need a course at one of the post-secondary institutes that we're partnered with. And so they're going to have to take a short course to be able to meet the graduation requirements. Out of those 20 students, 2 of them anticipate coming back for a fall semester. So 18 of those will earn their diploma by June. We do have the diplomas and the caps and gowns at GHS. Out of the student demographic, there are 5 that are Caucasian, 5 that are Acoma, 4 that are Hispanic, 3 that are Navajo, 1 is Laguna, and 2 are other. And so we are working closely with those 20 students to try to get them into summer school, into credit recovery, into the dual credit courses that they need to be able to be successful and to earn their diploma by mid-June. Our GHS commencement will take place on May 21st, 2021 at 5 p.m. Ours will be just like it was last year. It will be a drive-up graduation. Students will pull up. We'll have a stage in front of the high school with the pirate. The student will get out. They will cross the stage, receive their diploma. Their parents will edge along, take pictures, and have a front row seat. There will be 1 vehicle per graduate, and we're encouraging families to bring Suburbans or passenger vans, so that way they can have multiple family members. We do have the requirement that everybody in the vehicle has to have a seat belt, so they're safe. We will be streaming the commencement like we did last year. This year we have enacted a YouTube channel. We now have a production group of our students, and they're calling it Angry Jack Productions. Every day they produce our announcements. They're producing our games. They're producing all of the events and activities that we're having at school. So Angry Jack Productions on YouTube will stream the graduation. We will have a DJ so we can broadcast to the parking lots where the families are housed. They'll be in 4 different parking lots around campus, and each graduate will have an assigned parking space. And as Ms. Sanchez showed you a little bit ago, we are putting up brackets on our fencing out front so we can put up flags and banners around 2nd Street. Out front, we'll have senior banners for all 173 kids that are currently seniors and part of the class of 2021. We will put those banners up, and they will be on display throughout the month of May. And yesterday, they started a construction project on 2nd Street. 1st Street is now closed, and 2nd Street is now 2-way. And so we're meeting with the city. We're meeting with the council, so that way we can make sure that everything is aligned and prepared for the drive-up graduation as students come onto 2nd Street. Are there any questions?
Yeah, Mr. President, Mr. Widener, of those 20 students, they're not going to be graduating. Am I correct?
They will not participate in commencement. They will 18 of those 20 students will earn their diploma by mid-June.
Okay.
The board
And
policy
the other
is that they
question-
have to have, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
The policy of the school board is
Oh, I
that
had
you
one-
have to have all of your coursework completed before you participate in commencement. And so because they have not completed their coursework, they are not allowed to participate in commencement.
Thank you. One last question, and for both Mr. Sanchez and Mr. Widener, you're making sure that they know that masks are mandatory while they're in the vehicles? Or are we?
Very much. As Ms. Sanchez mentioned a moment ago, we have over 400 kids at GHS. The students that are here are very compliant. They're very good about wearing their masks in class. They take them off when they're eating in the dining in the cafeteria, but they're very good about wearing their masks. And we have had 2 initial meetings with the senior class and told them about social distancing protocols and COVID safety rules. And the kids seem to be very compliant at this time.
As for Laguna Acoma, we've been meeting
Okay,
with
excellent.
with the senior class every Friday. Every other Friday, we have a video chat with the parents and the students. The students had a lot of say in how we were going to do graduation this year. We wanted to make sure that they were excited about it and that they were involved. So they've had a lot of design and how things are working, and they understand that they have to wear a mask, and everybody participating from the stage to the cars to the graduate will be wearing masks, and they understand that is part of the protocol.
And in the car, you said in the cars? Because I'm assuming that we'll have young children in the Suburbans that you're talking about. Although I know they won't all have Suburbans, but it's important that even the young children in the cars are also wearing masks as well. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you. We appreciate that. 2021, 2022 budget, Superintendent Perez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Ms. Sanchez, principals, for your work there. The next up is our ongoing budget building of the 2021, 2022 school year budget. And here tonight is our Director of Finance to present to you where we're at with that budget. So, Mr.
Thank you.
Maldonado.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Superintendent Perez, Mr. President, and board members. I wanted to just walk you through our operating budget tonight and remind you that, of our schedule and what we're working on. You may remember a couple of weeks ago, we presented the information about our timeline. And at that time, we were going to have to submit our budget tomorrow, which we then were able to meet with our budget analyst from PED and got a different time frame. So just to remind you and refresh your memory, we April 6th, we did the update last board meeting to show you what our time frame was. The following day, we met with the Acoma Pueblo and shared with them our initial ideas for the budget and got some feedback as well. We also finished our cash report for the month, for the quarter, excuse me, so we had a better idea what our fund balances were. On April 8th, we had an employee forum and then a parent forum as well. At the end of those, we also provided a link to a forum online where people could ask questions. They could make comments if they weren't able to attend. We also sent out the recording of those 2 budget forums so that folks could hear it afterwards if they weren't able to attend. Friday the 9th, we then collected all of our staffing needs from all the different departments and updated our budget for the benefits. On the 14th, we consulted with the Laguna Pueblo and we just started to develop our draft budget. Last Friday, we met with the budget committee of the board, which consisted of President Ortiz and Dr. Guy, as well as a couple of members of the community and Mr. Perez, and reviewed sort of a first look like you're going to get today of the draft operational budget, and then answered some questions about the 910B5 form and other forms. Our initial was going, initially we were going to present the final budget today, but thankfully we don't have to do that. So we got permission from the PED to present you with today with a review of our operating budget. And then tomorrow we just have to upload some of the required forms to the online budget management system in the PED site. And then we have a couple more weeks to work on finalizing the budget. And this will allow us to get a better handle on our balances or what we can expect for the grants and title funding. And then we can tweak the the operating budget as well. So we have some time and a little bit of breathing room, which is really good to get some more feedback. And then on Wednesday, May 5th, that's when we will come back with the final budget for you to review and approve so that we can then upload it on the next day. So I wanted to also just remind you of some of the new sources of funds that you're familiar that we got the CARES Act money, which was 1.6 million about a year ago. And we're anticipating the new CARISA funds to be coming in shortly through the SEG, through the allocation, 6.3, almost $6.4 million. And then of course the payment in lieu of taxes in the form of their impact aid. So we were able to, through the lawsuit that was won, we will be getting about $2.7 million through the 1920 allocation that we did not receive. And then moving forward, we will be receiving at least this year and for the foreseeable future, about $3.5 million per year. That's no longer subject to the 75% credit reduction in the annual allocation. So we will get the full funding moving forward, which is, as was mentioned in the budget committee, is a very substantial and significant win for the district as we begin to use those funds to cover what was not being covered before through the operating budget. So this is very significant. All told, between here and here and here, we're looking at about $12.2 million in new sources of funding. Then I just wanted to remind everyone also of our larger sort of strategic uses of the funding for the CARISA funds. And they include these areas of focus: building safety, $600,000 to continue to rapidly enhance our building safety and to continue compliance with a lot of the COVID-19. Moving beyond that, we still identified some other areas that we could use some funding for, so we're going to focus on that. The building improvements, $1 million to replace the roof and the HVAC system at Laguna Acoma. This is our portion of that funding. We anticipate that will be between $2.5 to $3 million. We're replacing that as a high priority for use of those funds in order to bring that building up to a better standard where the HVAC and the roof are no longer an issue for us. Then we want to invest about $2.5 million in bringing comprehensive trades and crafts training for all students in all schools, focusing on CTE program development. This is going to take some significant effort. It doesn't happen in 1 year, obviously, but there's significant planning goes into that. And we're very happy that we have the resources where we can begin to develop this type of programming for our students. And then it was clear to us that while we focused and were concerned about the social and emotional health of students, we also learned through this public health emergency over the last year and a half that we also need to pay attention to the emotional and social health of our staff. So we want to invest about $800,000 in health and well-being programs to help our staff cope with the ongoing pandemic and with the new landscape in education, which includes some comprehensive cultural awareness training so that we all as a staff can manage better with the students and with each other in this stressful time. Also wanted to invest in learning. I call it summer learning, but it's not just during the summer, but about that $30,000 of the Carissa funds to develop academic strategies and provide the staff with tools to teach in this new landscape. We know that education is not going to be the same moving forward in terms of our delivery methods. So we really want to get ahead of the curve and develop some training for the staff. And then, of course, the Yazzie Martinez compliance, really focusing a significant amount of effort and funds to enable the district to move forward, not just with meeting the spirit and the letter of the regulation in Yazzie Martinez, but going beyond that, and more to come on that. And so here's an example of how we would fund equity in education, for example, in that Yazzie Martinez scenario. 560,000 of it could come from the Carissa funds, another 600,000 from the Impact Aid, a retro award from 1920, and then moving forward another 300,000. It's all told about investing about $1.4 million in the next year or two to bring us up to speed with that compliance. So this is just a review. I just wanted to make sure that we knew exactly where we were with this. I'm going to move on to the proposed operating budget and walk you through that. You should have this either in your email or also in your packet as well. So let's see if I can get to the right screen. Hold on one second. Let me get to the right screen. Sorry about that. There we go. So I'm going to first walk through the 910B5 form, which is the form that is used to calculate the SEG, the state equalization guarantee. So this is the PED made some modifications to kind of an overhaul of the process here, and so they created from our projections from last year and some other tools. They created this 910B5 form, which I'll get down to the bottom line here. Can you see this? Okay, everyone can see this. I want to make sure I'm. Can someone say yes? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so the new unit value here is 4770, up from 45, I believe 4593 from last year, and so the hold harmless in this new year for this upcoming year is 34 million is our SEG, 34,145,000. That compares to last year, which was $31,076,000. So this 910B5 form takes into account a number of items, which include not only our anticipated membership, which we were very conservative last year in November when we put this together. That was when we were experiencing the dip in the enrollment. And so we wanted to make sure that we didn't overestimate and be overconfident. So we had a total membership of 3,088 students. We then, of course, had to complete how many we anticipated in the extended learning program, items like that. This is all in your packet. I won't go into too much detail, but suffice to say that the big area right here that you can see in these program costs, the tax levy, the federal impact aid, the forest reserve, I verified with our budget analyst supervisor today that we do not take these credits anymore. And so she said, you need to go with this full amount of the $34,145,183.21 and anticipated for next year for the state equalization guarantee. Are there any questions about this 910B5 form or on the funding priorities that I presented so far before I move on to the operating budget? All right, let's get down to the meat and potatoes of what this is. And let me get to that budget just a moment, please. So I'm using the template that was put together by our wonderful consultants last year to help us walk through and easily categorize our budget. So we're going to look first at the revenue component. And if I need to make this bigger, please let me know if you can't see it. How about if I do that? Can you see that pretty good? All right.
Good.
So our cash reserves, this is taken from our audited financials that were done for June 30th of $7,496,000. That's from the audited financial. And you'll see in this column are projected for next year. And then this column compared to the budget for last year. And this column is the change in that as well. Okay. So this is our cash moving into the new year. And then there is a formula that the PED requires us to use in order to come up with this particular restricted cash of $22,000. We add, this is all revenue, that we add then in the what we anticipate and add the Warren taxes from the property taxes. Investment income, we lowered that from last year because we changed from one account to a money market account this year now. We anticipate that we'll see, we had a little dip in what we anticipated for investment income, but now that we established the new money market account with TBK, we'll see some actual improvement in that income. I'll go down all the way down here to this 34 million. This is the money, the fund directly from the 910V5 form. This is where this comes in, and you can compare it to last year as well. And then the indirects here as we calculated. And then the impact aid, the new money coming in, we anticipated here about $3.5 million there in that new funding. And we also anticipate another 198 in forest reserve funds. All told, total revenue about 45, well not about, but it will be $45,759,000. That's a jump from last year of about $1.5 million. That's the revenue. Any questions about the revenue side? All right. Let's go down to the anticipated expenditures. I'm going to make this just a little smaller so you can see everything. All right. So payroll and benefits, one of the items here was the legislature did pass the 1.5% across the board increase for all staff. It was an average, but then it was line item vetoed and changed to all staff across the board, 1.5%. That's built into this. These are the payroll that is funded through the operations, the 11,000 fund. There's also payroll that's funded through title funds that doesn't appear on here, but this is payroll and benefits. The other thing we then set aside was a payroll for the extended learning program, 305,000, where we took the teacher average and the number of teachers that we thought would participate for next year, and that's how we came up with this 305,000. We're hoping, well, depending on what happens with the PED requirements, it could require a contractual change. We don't know, but we didn't want to build that into the budget right now since it was an unknown, and we didn't. That would just create more pressure on us to meet that. So, if anything, I learned from our consultants, they told us to go in low as opposed to going high and then have to retract and give back or make those kinds of changes. So banking on that, that's where we came up with that 305,000. And then we set aside about $7.4 million in discretionary district funds that can be used for other programs that are not specifically designated here in this operating budget. Our property tax and liability, not property tax, but property and liability insurance across the board went up 4.57%. That's just $1.1 million right here, 1.1,069,000. So that's up by 51,000. That payment is due before the end of this year. So we have to make sure that we reserve enough cash in order to make that one huge payment at the end of the year. This is a state-sponsored liability insurance. And then our copier leases, we went out for bid. In fact, we did an RFP and it was delivered today at 2 o'clock was the deadline. We wanted to see how much better we could do with our copier leases. And I anticipate going lower savings on that. That's my goal. But in order to be on the safe side, we wanted to increase it by 5% to $189,000. We're funding we're putting aside funds for 3 SROs, school resource officers. We also put in cash reserves of 3.2 million. I know Mr. President and I have had discussions about this. I would like to see this at 10%, but realistically, I know that that's probably not possible for us. But so I'm very comfortable with setting aside this 3.2 million. We always want to make sure that even though we may have an increase in cash currently, we always have to plan for a 3 to 5 year planning horizon in case the bottom drops out somewhere in this. So we want to make sure that we have those reserves. This $910,000 here for contracting services, if you remember last year, the board approved us outsourcing our substitutes, EAs, cooks, teachers, substitute teachers, and custodians. So that because otherwise, if they continued as employees, they would be losing about 10% of their income to the new ERB, employee retirement rules. And so in order to save that, we wanted to outsource it. It's a really good program. It's working well for us. This year, because of the pandemic and because we haven't had as many days in the school, in the classroom, we haven't used near the amount that we budgeted. So we decided just to go ahead and go forward with the same amount. We also then wanted to increase the services for at-risk students, rather, and so we upped that by 20% there. Same with fine arts bilingual, which we haven't really done a whole lot with in terms of program expenses. And then instructional materials, this is a formula of the SEG. That's how this is arrived at here based on the SEG. And so a couple other big items here, I believe, would be this SPED right here. We wanted to maintain our amount because of our maintenance of effort requirements. We ran this budget with our CPA last Thursday evening, and we wanted to make sure that we were spot on with how we were projecting, and so she helped us make sure that we were on the right track here. And so I believe, so down here at the bottom, this is something I want to show you here, this right column over here. This column on the right here is looking at utilities. I'm sorry about that. Because we weren't in the building for so long, even though we budgeted, for example, $850,000 for electricity, for electricity, we actually will only spend about $662,000 this year through the end of June. So that's about $187,000 less than what we budgeted. For gas, we're up about $40,000. Propane, we're up down about $47,000. And then water and sewer, for some reason, $92,000, again, just not being in the building. And then for the phone, because we went to voice over internet protocol and using the internet, we sort of shifted some of the expense from the actual landlines into internet services. And so that's what carries our phone services now, but it comes at a substantial savings for the district. So another rah-rah there for technology for thinking ahead of that. But I wanted to show you that based on what we anticipate in terms of spending for these utilities as well as fuel, it's going to be about $700,000 less than what we budgeted. However, moving into a new school year where we anticipate more days in school, all of that, we wanted to be conservative and make sure that we kept the same amounts there. So that's why you see the same amounts that were budgeted last year are going to be budgeted this year. Questions about the proposed, what we have so far with this? Am I frozen?
Oh, we're good.
Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't see anybody moving. So next steps, here's what we have. Next steps is Dr. Martin and I have to get together with our budget team to determine what the anticipated title revenue will be for the upcoming year. And so we'll build that into match that with the operating budget. Overall, I'm anticipating about $74 million in budget review that you'll be looking at next in the next board meeting with the title funds. And then we'll be asking for a review and approval of that. With that, that's my presentation. I'm available for any questions at all.
Mr. President, Mr. Perez.
Yes, go ahead, Dr. Guy.
What I'm requesting is that when we receive the budget at the next board meeting, that we see a line item, a breakdown for each school.
I'm sorry, for each school, sir? Is that what you
Yes.
said? Okay.
School and department. So that means staffing by grade changes. Also, is there, I think you should be able to differentiate between GEO and title funds. Sometimes a school will have some staff paid out of GEO, some of them will pay out of federal funds. We need to know which ones they are, so we can see how we're supporting the program.
Yes, sir. We actually do have that already, so I'll make sure that it's part of that presentation.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Mr. Maldonado. Appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
Action items tonight, Superintendent Perez, consideration of approval of 2021-2022 Title III local plan. Your recommendation?
Yes, sir, Mr. President, Board, I do recommend that we approve the 2021-2022 Title III local plan as presented.
I need a motion.
So move.
Need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes. It is a bit difficult to read it because the print was not for my old eyes. And so explain this to me, Mr. Martin. What are we approving?
This year's Title III budget is a little bit lower than last year, but mainly the activities that are included in the application are very similar to what we had last year. This year, we plan on using the majority of the Title III budgets on SIOP training. Our teachers found the SIOP training really helpful, especially at this time when they were mostly virtual. Our TESOL trainers, our SIOP training provider, actually customized his training to make our teachers more adept at doing virtual instruction. And that's the reason why our teachers benefited very much from those trainings. And again, out of the $30+ thousand that we received from that we are going to receive from Title III, 30 majority of that will be for that training, and the rest will be budgeted for supplies and materials needed for those training.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, sir.
Any other discussion, questions? Okay. Roll call.
Dr. Garashamo,
Yes.
Remy Bailey,
Yes,
Jones, Jones, Untitled,
Yes.
Yes. Motion carries. Action item B, consideration of approval of the New Mexico Finance Authority application. Superintendent Perez, your recommendation.
Yes, sir, Mr. President, Board, I recommend that we approve the New Mexico Finance Authority application as presented this evening.
Need a motion?
So move.
Need a second?
Second,
Any discussion?
Mr. Lee?
Explain.
Yeah, I see his name there. Mr. Lee, are you on?
Mr. Perez, explain.
Okay, I don't have all the details here. I'm looking for the document now.
Superintendent Art Melendres here.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Melendez, you have some info?
I have some general information. The application to the Finance Authority is to provide, in essence, a loan so that the Finance Authority will purchase the bonds that are going to be sold by the district. And so in your next item is a notice of sale. It is to sell the bonds to the Finance Authority. They require an application first, which their board will review and approve. We anticipate that will happen. And then the Finance Authority will purchase your bonds. And this happens with an interest rate lower than on the commercial marketplace. And so that's what that application is about.
Thank you, Mr. Melendez.
And that is in the board packet. If what I'm looking at right now. Governing board issuing Series 2021 bonds.
Yes, sir. That's an action item that's next.
Okay, hold on. So, board members, we need to approve the application as stated. We need to approve the intent to apply.
Yes.
Yes.
So I don't think there's any other discussion necessary, because then we need to go on to C.
Yes, sir. This is just the approval for the application, and then believe the rest will be explained.
Yes. Call.
Roll call.
Dr. Barshamo,
Yes.
Emily Monday, Emily,
Is she on? I don't see her on. She might have dropped out there for a
You
minute.
say,
Richard Jones,
Hey, I got kicked off for a long time, so I'm just now back and I'm not sure what I'm voting on, so it's hard for me to vote right now. If you can tell me real quick, I'll give you a or an A, but
The recommendation was to approve the application for the New Mexico Finance Authority. And this is a part of the process in moving into selling the bonds. As it's part of the process.
yeah, I just need to know where we are. So I'm an I.
thank you.
Leon Sandoval,
Aye.
Ron Ortiz,
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, action item C, consideration of notice of sale of general obligation bonds. Superintendent Perez, your recommendation?
Yes, sir. Mr. President, Board, I do recommend that we approve the notice of sale of general obligation bonds
Okay,
as
need a motion?
presented.
So move.
Need a
A second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Mr. President, I believe Mr. Melendez will have some information on this as well.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board, superintendent, this notice of sale is, as I described previously, the notice of the board approving selling $3 million worth of general obligation bonds to the New Mexico Finance Authority. The Finance Authority will receive your notice of sale resolution, and on May 5, the Finance Authority will send a bond purchase agreement to the superintendent. And by this resolution, you are authorizing the superintendent to sign on your behalf the bond purchase agreement, which will then solidify the offer and sale between the Finance Authority and the district. Thereafter, we will move forward to do closing documents, and in early June, we will be able to deliver the $3 million for construction projects. The notice of sale is in your packet. It contains the parameters for which you are authorizing the sale, and that that is actually on page 4 and 5. So we say it's for capital projects. The amount will not exceed $3 million. We will have a interest rate probably less than 2%. And if anything goes off of that parameters resolution, we'll come back before the board and ask either approval, or you can say, no, we don't approve. But at this point, we anticipate everything going very smoothly. And by your approving this resolution, you authorize the superintendent to work with us and the Finance Authority and your financial advisor to move forward for a sale of the bonds in May and closing in June. I'll stand for any questions you might have.
Any questions from the board?
The information is pretty clear. If you just review these sections 4, 5, and 6, it outlines what it is that we're doing.
Yes,
So,
sir.
It's in the amount of $3 million, excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Mr.
The
Superintendent,
lender is-
do we have? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I was just wondering, do we have projects or expenditures already slated for this spending on the from the bond?
Yes, ma'am, Mr. President. So we're still following the bond priorities that we presented when we originally passed the bond.
Okay. So where are we on the list? Just some approximate projects that this bond might include?
Okay, I'll ask for help. Mr. Lee, are you on?
Yes, sir, I am. Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Pettis, the proceeds of this $3 million bond sale will go towards Mesa View, the replacement of Mesa View Elementary School.
Does that answer your question, Ms. Hunt?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
Mr. President Ortiz
Yes.
and Mr. Pettis, for information, would you have Mr. Lee provide us with an overview of that, of the project's schedule that he was trying to explain to us, so that we'll have our memories refreshed instead of having to go back to look into previous board agendas. I know it's there. I just would just like have Mr. Lee
Yes,
give
sir.
that to us again. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Archambault and Mr. President. Your will, I'll arrange to see that happens.
Okay. Roll call?
Dr. Barashambo,
Yes,
Emily Hunt Bailey,
Yes,
Richard Jones,
Aye.
Leon Sandoval,
Yes.
Ron Ortiz.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Melendez. Consent agenda, your recommendation tonight, Mr.
We have one more. I believe.
Oh, you have one more,
Action
sir?
item. Hold on, I'm sorry. I missed action item D. Consideration of approval to adopt a resolution for the election of board members and tax levy.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, Board, I do recommend that we approve the resolution for the election of board members and the tax levy as presented.
Okay, need a motion?
so moved. Oh, Leon,
Second?
I'd second.
Okay. Roll call?
Dr. Barashambo,
aye.
Emily Hunt Bailey,
aye,
Richard Jones,
Aye.
Leon Sandoval,
Aye.
Ron Ortiz.
Aye. Motion carries. Consent agenda, Superintendent Perez, your recommendation?
Yes, sir. Mr. President, Board, I recommend that we approve the consent agenda as presented this evening.
Need a motion?
So move.
Need a second?
Second,
Roll call?
Dr. Barashambo,
yes.
Emily Hunt Bailey,
yes,
Richard Jones, Richard Jones,
Seems like the internet's in and out.
Yeah, it's in and out.
Leon Sandoval,
Yes.
Dr. Ron Ortiz.
Yes. Motion carries. Superintendent's report, Superintendent Perez.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, Board, just wanted to share that we will be getting student surveillance testing as recommended by the Public Education Department. So the surveillance testing for students is basically having the students test the high school students from three different choices of the kind of test that they can administer: the swab or the spit test, or I guess the nasal. So it'll be 1% of the students rotated. So 1% of our total student, actually, it's not only high school students, 1% of our total student enrollment is about 30 students a week. And it's by parent permission only, it's voluntary. We do this, it's just another layer of a check on our students and staff. It also contributes to the county being and the rankings of the color and the status of the county in this COVID situation. So Sonia's our health coordinator is working with the local Department of Health to see how we can get that up and going probably in the next couple of weeks. Alongside that, I was contacted by the local Department of Health, and they want to offer vaccinations for students 16 and older. Of course, any students under the age of 18 have to have their parents present. I believe that we're going to have any student who gets vaccinated have obviously their parent permission, but also have their parents present as they get vaccinated. So that's news hot off the press. You've probably seen it on the local news or regional news. So there's more to come on that. We just initially got that this last couple of days. But we're moving forward carefully with both surveillance testing and vaccinations. And I'll bring that information back to the board as we get more of it.
Mr. Pettis, what's the turnaround rate on the test results?
I believe that
Or the turnaround
it's
results?
it's probably 1 day now with some of those. No, the different tests has different return results on it. But I believe that one of them even has like almost an immediate return. And there's another I saw, and I don't have all the accurate, I don't see Miss Hernandez on. But I'll bring that information to you, Mr. Sandoval, President, on return. The amount of time that it takes to get the results. But I believe it's anywhere from 1 hour to 3 days at this time. That's changed.
That it, Mr.?
Yes, that's all I have for the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Executive session, superintendent's evaluation as permitted under section 10-15-1 H of the New Mexico Meetings Act. I need a motion to go into executive session.
So move.
Need a second?
This is Guy Shambo, second.
Thank you, Dr. Guy. Roll call?
Dr. Garashambo,
Yes.
Emily Hunt Daly,
Yes.
Richard Jones, Richard Jones,
Thank you, guys.
Mr. Pettis, make sure that you are able to reach him.
Yeah,
Leon Sandoval,
Yes.
I'll give him a call.
Well, you need to
Yeah.
before we conclude the motion.
Okay.
Wait,
Motion carried.
let's don't take the, we don't say anything yet, Mr. Ortiz. Let Mr. Pettis try to reach Mr.
I'm calling him.
Jones.
Okay. Motion carried.
I'm back. I'm back.
There you are.
Sorry. I don't know if it's a service or what, but I keep losing out for a minute. So sorry.
Richard Jones,
All right.
And me, aye. Okay, motion carries. Time was 6:45.
You gotta tell what we're doing, what the purpose is again,
Okay,
for the purposes of,
to go into executive session pursuant to the New Mexico Open Meetings Act under section 10-15-1 H of the New Mexico Meetings Act.
thank you.
Thank you.
So I'd like to ask that we take a couple of minutes just for a quick bathroom break, and then we're going to sign out of here, and I'll sign back in an executive session, and then we'll be back on in here.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We can stay in here.
Okay, leave. Mr. Martin.
Yes, sir. I'll
gonna
stay
leave.
in, I'll stay in here, just so the board meeting doesn't close.
We have a separate Zoom.
Yes,
don't we?
sir. You can leave this meeting and then join the other meeting, sir.
Will do.
All right. I'll wait for you to be back.
You're on.
There we are. Okay, we're ready to go. The board came out of an executive session at 7:36. The only items discussed were the superintendent's evaluation as permitted under section 10-15-1H of the New Mexico Meetings Act. I need a motion to come back
Where's our secretary?
into regular session.
So move.
Need a second?
Guyer Shambo, second.
Second,
Okay. You want me to do the roll call?
Call vote, roll call.
Yeah, hold on one second, Dr. Guy. We're calling Lorraine in. I was gonna do it, but
Okay,
We're in the middle of the roll call.
Who was the second? Was
Dr. Guy.
Dr. Guy? Okay.
Okay, Lorraine will be right in.
Well, like,
She'll be in just a second. She's on her.
Better go.
We're at roll call for
we
coming
came
back
out of the
in.
executive at 7:36.
7:36.
I made a motion to come out of executive
Motion.
and Guy seconded. So now we're just waiting on the roll call.
Roll call.
Okay. Dr. Guyer Shambo,
yes,
Emily Hunt Davis,
yes,
Richard Jones,
Aye.
John Sandoval,
Yes.
Ron Matisse,
Yes. Motion passed. Announcements are there for you to look at. Need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
so moved,
Need a second.
second,
I'll let you do the second, Emily. Okay. Roll call.
okay,
Dr. Guyer Shambo,
yes.
Emily Hunt Davis,
yes,
No, he's not.
Fell off.
John Sandoval,
Aye.
Ron Matisse.
Yes. Meeting adjourned at 7:39. Thank you all. Have a good night.
night.
alrighty. You too.
We're done.
7:30.